Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this post 1,000 subscriber video. I'm not doing anything special or weird or anything, just other than, as I said in another post, it is weird and slightly humbling that so many people have decided to subscribe to my channel. But I mean, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful. I'm not sure what to do about the whole monetization thing. I mean, I don't want to turn anything on that causes loads of ads for people. I'm not massively short of money, but you know, I've also been told, on the other hand, that there's ads anyway, so you might as well turn it on because you're just getting money that's YouTube are already earning money off me apparently. So therefore, I mean, just if you could, if you are watching, just keep an eye on the ads and let me know if they're getting ridiculous or if it's, you know, because I'll just turn bits off. I'm not entirely sure what to do. The sort of the guidance isn't massively clear, so I'm not entirely sure what that changes or what anything does. So I've clicked on one button, which is the sort of the preview ads, as it were, and I hope that's not causing anybody any sort of viewing issues, and if it is, I will just turn it off. So let me know what's happening. Also, if there's like any inappropriate ads or whatever, just link them in the thing, because I can block URLs. So if there's something that you think is, you know, shouldn't be over the channel, just put the URL in the comments and I'll block it. You know, anyway, so I mean, I kind of see it as a way of taking control of the ads to an extent, rather than like, I don't know. Anyway, just let me know what happens, and because obviously I can't. I have YouTube Premium as well, and also so do all of my family. So, yeah, so I can't really check because, you know, I pay for because I use YouTube Music, or I listen to it all the time. I don't have Spotify. You have YouTube Music, which is, as far as I can tell, more or less the same service, and it costs roughly the same. So, you know, I might as well go YouTube because I watch a lot of YouTube. Anyway, let's talk about the meta. So, the global meta is I've gone from FAQ and errata, so that's essentially version 1.3 of Warhammer. Why is it not 1. Oh, hold on a minute. Or has Colin gone for 1.5? Oh no, he's gone for 1.5. He has, yeah. It's not 1.5, but whatever. Everybody's calling it 1.5, but it's not, because you know, version history 1.3, you know, should go to 1.4, obviously. But and then it goes all the way up to version 1.9, and then it goes to version 1.10, and then version 1.11, and so on and so forth. That's kind of how version history is supposed to work, but that's how nobody does it in this game, which annoys me slightly. So since the errata, there's not really enough results to say anything massively conclusive. Null seems to be doing very, very well, as you could well imagine, because cannons have more or less just been given a bit of a glow up. Why have they been given a glow up? Well, because monsters have been given a bit of a kicking, and the cannon's weaknesses really are kind of anti-artillery stuff that can fly around and get it, and that sort of stuff has been, you know, has been made less valuable. Big blocks of infantry have been made more valuable, and cannons love shooting at big blocks of infantry. Cannons also love shooting at big monsters, and with more of an emphasis being put on big blocks of infantry and less of an emphasis on monsters, that makes cannons more valuable. Why? Because they've only got like 1 or 2 targets to fire at in an average army. So you look at a lot of lists nowadays, there's the number of monsters is trimmed down a little bit. So cannons really have 1 target and therefore have 1 job. And that's basically to kill the big monster enemy general thing. You know, which is often 400 or 500 points, which is often the points that you spent on the cannon. So they get their value back and then a little bit more. So they're pretty good. So City State of Nuln is looking pretty good. Grand Cathay is looking pretty good. They've got some decent cannons. Errantry Crusade being good is a bit of a surprise, to be honest, because I thought Cavalry's been nerfed a little bit. Swift Stride's been made slightly better, because now you just roll 3 dice and pick the best 2. It used to be you roll 2 dice, pick the best one, and then add another. So the sort of the mechanic we've got now. Well, this is how I'm reading it anyway, but it just says roll an extra dice. It doesn't say anything about this sort of weird mechanic. So that's how I'm reading that. And then Wild Herds, I said that would be strong. Not surprised. I think it's actually the extra, like... So Wild Herd is like a Beastman sub-faction, and you get extra magic items, and crucially, extra Chaos mutations on characters. I don't think that applies to unit champions, but it does apply to characters, which means basically you can have essentially a War Gore. War Gore? Is that the name? Warlord? Gore Warlord. Beastman Warlord? Whatever. That guy... or gal, you can have as essentially with 75 points of mutations and 125 points of magic. The point is, you've got big blocks of really good it is really good infantry because it's cheap. So you can have massive blocks of relatively cheap infantry that isn't actually terrible. Like Gore's a toughness 4 for like 8 or 9 points, which is pretty cheap. For that amount of toughness, and you can have a lot of them, and they benefit from Horde and Warband and all that kind of stuff. So they've got significant advantages. Plus, with Wild Herd, you can put some really elite characters in there that are really super upgraded and either very tanky or do a lot of damage or both. And they've got access to stuff like -1 to hit shenanigans and all sorts really that makes them quite difficult to deal with. So the fact that you can concentrate all that within like one big blob of, huge rank bonus that get all the advantages of the, with shield and armor and hand weapon and all that kind of stuff. So they're really, I think Wild Herd are potentially one of the strongest factions, and I think they're potentially the foil to Grand Cathay, but we'll see. Mortuary Cult, Walls of the Sea. These are not surprising. I've still not seen a Walls of the Sea player play, and I still don't know how they're so good, but hopefully I can get to a tournament at some point and maybe get a game against one. And then at the bottom, Skaven are doing better now. Dark Elves are now the bottom faction. Again, it's early days in terms of the data because it is a new edition. I think the game is the game balance has been shifted significantly enough that the old meta is less valuable than it was because it relates to an edition that we'd no longer really have. But if you go from the core launch to today, who's looking good meta-wise? Wild Herd and Grand Cathay in terms of all data. Again, 47 events and 26 events. I'd like that figure to be, 47 means we're like operating at, let's say, a 10% error margin, right? So that win rate could be, 10% of that, 10% overall, so i.e. 47 to 57%, could be the result of random chance, basically. So it could just be that Grand Cathay players are getting luckier. I don't see that as being particularly likely, but it's possible. So the win rate could be out, and the standard deviation could also be out. It's quite a high standard deviation again because of low numbers of results, so that figure isn't accurate yet. Because it could be, with a 10% error margin, it could it's not exactly this, but it could effectively be like a standard deviation could either be 23% or 43%. Huge swing. So we need a bit more data for these figures to be reliable. Whereas Tomb Kings, they've had a lot of results. 902 events, 300 for Exiles, 36 for Krace isn't really enough. So we've got a few factions that appear to be outperforming, but there's not enough results to really say conclusively they're a problem. I think there are elements of Wild Herd and Grand Cathay which are obviously problematic, but whatever. And I think the Wild Herd one it's obviously problematic, but it's really difficult to deal with because essentially how you've made them better is fundamentally their core mechanic. So what are you going to do about it? You can't really alter unless you just say an extra 25% of magic items are not mutations, and I think that might make them a bit more balanced. But I don't know. I'm drinking coffee. I don't know why. Normally tea. I don't know why. I decided to make myself coffee this morning. I think it's because I've got some beans and I've got a little grinder, so I thought, I'll do that. Which I used to do quite religiously a few years ago, but I've just gone off coffee. There's something about hitting age 40, I think. Some people just go off coffee, don't they? Oh, pardon me. Right, it's that exciting, I'm yawning. Host of Talzin are struggling, which I'm not surprised at. I'm actually... Oh no, we haven't got enough data from other factions, have we? No. That's from core launch, so really has nobody... So we're taking Wood Elves. Is there any... Yeah, that's interesting. Exiles are still strong, but not post 1.5, which I think is quite interesting because, again, cannons have been made better, and Exiles have probably got the best cannon in the game. I mean, it's in competition with the Grand Cathayan cannon. I think the reliability of the Exiles cannon carries it a little bit, but because it is just way more reliable than other cannons as well. It's got its own misfire chart, which is more reliable, which means it's in action a bit more than other cannons. So I don't know. I prefer the Exile, the Bombard really to the Cathayan thing. It's cheaper as well, which helps, but it doesn't come with an ogre, so c'est la vie. Yeah, so that's the overall meta. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think personally, I'm a bit disappointed Skaven aren't doing better, but I wonder if it's because people aren't really, the top players tend to take the top factions, and that's pretty natural. So, Nuln doing well, I'm not surprised because it's a list that you can power get. And if you look at that standard, again, low number of games, but that is really super reliable for a low number of games. You expect your standard deviation, basically the fewer results, the wider the standard deviation. Typically, so the fact that it's already quite narrow with so few results means that I'm pretty confident when I predict that Nuln will stay roughly here. I think it might come down a little bit, but I think that's about where it's pitched. It's also a perfect foil to Grand Cathay because Grand Cathay are low drops in general, and they've got some great cannons. Like great cannons, like the fantastic great cannons. Whereas Nuln do have actual great cannons, and they have typically more of them and engineers, which make them a bit more reliable. So Nuln, and also they've got Hans von Löwenbroek, which means they can get +2 to going first if they deploy first, which they probably do because war machines all drop as one, characters all drop as one. Nuln list is basically like a big chunk of war machines, maybe a big chunk of halberdiers. No, it's a 1+, isn't it? The Nuln state troops. So you have a big chunk of halberdiers. They've got to be halberdiers, not spears. But they've got to be halberdiers, and then they've got a load of handgunners that they can upgrade a little bit through popping characters in and stuff like that. So you end up with these, and then maybe a couple of units of cavalry to just be a bit counter-punchy, just to essentially disincentivize the opponent from rushing their cavalry all the way up, because you can, hit them with your cav, which has counter charge. Most cavalry nowadays has counter charge. Actually, like most fighting cavalry has counter charge. Personally, I'd put the counter charge rule on lances and remove it from all mounts, because, as I've said in other videos, historically lances were used to kill cavalry and not really infantry. They're not particularly great against infantry, weirdly. Quite difficult to use against infantry, whereas they are pretty handy against other cavalry, especially anti-infantry cavalry. So, like, if you go, to the Napoleonic period, where I think that was kind of like the height of this kind of sort of ranked and serried warfare. So what I mean by that is essentially, when troops used to rank up into rank and file units, and and operators as like fixed like battalions on the battlefield, like you had a block of men. Whereas as the 19th century went on, and certainly the First World War ended that style of warfare completely, we started to move more to being more skirmishy and more manoeuvrable, and not doing that, essentially, as the rate of fire of guns increased. But anyway, if you look at the Napoleonic period, cavalry were pretty much always armed with like a saber or like a straighter heavy cavalry shield. Just go to, I'm not just making this up. I'm not doing like I'm not going to mention any other channels, but there are some people who are like medievalists who there's not a lot of evidence behind what they're saying. They're just like reasoning it. They're just like saying, well, obviously this is well, no. I mean, you can look at first hand, maybe second hand accounts of people from the Napoleonic period, and cavalry were terrified of lancers because they're evil. And you can get poked in the back with a sharp pointy thing, and that was pretty bad. Whereas like cavalry, they tended to have like I can't even say it, cuirassier, war cuirass, obviously, i.e. breastplate, as did I think dragoons did, and all sorts. But I mean, essentially they had like either a straight heavy cavalry sword, or they had like a saber, which was like a long curved sword, which was a bit quicker for chopping down from horseback. You just have to be careful not to chop your horse's ears off. That was a common issue, especially with newer, fresh, inexperienced cavalrymen. And then your lances were anti. So I think lances should be like an anti-cavalry and anti-large thing. And again, in Warhammer Total War, because that's based on historical, they've tried to give that kind of flavour to the game. So cavalry are, with lances are anti-cavalry, and cavalry with swords are, anti-infantry. So, I think we need to do something with the weapons on horseback to make them feel a bit more realistic. Well, certainly to me, probably not to everybody else. But anyway, but that's where what was I talking about? Oh yeah, and also I think Skaven should be better, but I think it's because people aren't taking them. I don't think they're terrible in this meta. They should be like mid to low. They should be around here. Like, it's also interesting that Warriors of Chaos are down there. That's very, very surprising to me. I think that's probably wrong. I can't see Warriors of Chaos being stuck down there. Certainly no, they can't be. Heralds of Darkness can't be better than Warriors of Chaos, because like Chaos Warriors are, toughness 4, they've got heavy armor and shields, and they can take great weapons. Like, in terms of utility that gives you in this version of the meta, it's just second to none. Well, it's only, I think the best infantry is probably dwarves now. Again, toughness 4, similar armored and armament level, and they got low initiative and low move, but there's things you can do about the move. You've got like you've got the cart and the anvil, so there's stuff you can do about them. So Dwarven Mountain Holds being down there, I don't see that as being a particularly long term thing. Anybody up here that I'm a bit surprised at? Again, Wolves of the Sea, they don't feel to me to be a top faction, but that's the one that I'm consistently wrong about, so I could continue to be consistently wrong about them, of course. Beastmen, I think, are pretty strong. Trolls, again, that does surprise me a little bit. If we put Renegades on, does that change things? Oh, I'll come back to that in a sec. Vampires, I don't see why they would have dropped off. Previously they were very, very good. Overperforming. So, I think that's a bit interesting. Wood Elves I see as struggling. All Wood Elf factions. I just can't see what Wood Elves can do in this current meta. Like, they did have some half decent cavalry when it was a cavalry and monster meta. Now it's less of that, and it's more an infantry and artillery meta. And Wood Elves don't have infantry or artillery, so I can see them really struggling. And Lizardmen, again, they do have Saurus, which are pretty decent infantry, but they're not that good. They are quite expensive for what they are. And yeah, they can have hand weapon and shields and heavy armor, which is all, pretty good. With toughness 4, again, pretty good. But, they are quite expensive for what they are. So, yeah, I'm not sure. They can take spears as well, which does provide a little bit of utility, and they do have a lot of attacks. But I don't know. There's just something about Lizardmen that's just not not gelling. It's just they need a few more synergies. They need somebody to like rewrite the rules a little bit and get a bit more synergies. And maybe I ought to reach out to. I ought to have a look at the Renegade. I'll actually do a video on the Renegade pack, because I've tried to do a video on the Renegade pack a few times. I've just ended up spending half an hour going, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and it's just a bit boring. So I think, I'll look at it from a game balance perspective in terms of how would you nerf the top factions. But anyway, that's another thought for another day. I'll give it a go. If we then do look at the Renegade faction and include those results in, again, very, very few results, so it's very difficult to draw any firm conclusions at this stage. Ogre Kingdom's being given the same benefits as infantry. That's what he's done in the Renegade pack. So he's given them the fighting 2 ranks and all that kind of stuff that infantry get. So he's given basically all the bonuses from regular and light infantry to monstrous infantry for ogres alone. I don't think that's very fair, because ogres have got like a lot of stuff going for them already. I really don't understand why they're not higher up the meta, because you can write some really sick, horrible lists with ogre kingdoms already. So, but again, I need to go through that. Demons being top within Renegades absolutely makes sense, because there's a real focus on high quality infantry. So that's demons. That's your standard demon build is just high quality infantry, whether it's like bloodletters or plague. But they've all got like ward saves and stuff. They're all especially with renegades, they go to like a flat ward save, whereas in the current thing, they don't get their ward save against magical attacks, which I agree with the Renegade alteration. Like, losing those saves to magical attacks is just horrible, and it just means that you either have like a unit that's high quality infantry and actually reasonably reliable, or they're just totally dead. So if you're playing, like, for instance, Cathay or particularly Chaos, who generally speaking all their weapons have magical attacks, just Chaos Warriors just rip through demons. And I get thematically why you'd want that, and that kind of makes sense from a lore perspective, because essentially these Warriors of Chaos are used to batting off endless hordes of demons that are constantly raiding them, and that's why Chaos Warriors are so tough, because they're used to dealing with that shit, on a pretty regular basis. So I get why it makes sense from a lore perspective, but from a sort of gameplay and fun perspective, it's pretty terrible, really. Just to, oh, by the way, your army doesn't get any saves. Why? Because my army tells you don't get any saves. It's like, all right, okay. And your army's slightly weak. No, it just negates all your saves, so it's pointed to not for that. So basically a Warriors of Chaos army playing against a Demon of Chaos army might as well drop all the magical attacks rules and just have another 1,000 points on top. Like, they're just so good against demons. It's not even funny. And then Lizardman Renegades at the bottom, which I think is quite surprising. But then again, the Renegade rules for Lizardman don't make them that much better, so I guess it's not that surprising. They do need a bit of a buff. And Wood Elves definitely need a bit of a boost. I personally don't really know what I'd do with Wood Elves. Like, they don't really do enough output to kind of run around and like do a lot of shooting, and the sisters have been nerfed. And to be honest, they didn't need to be. Like, it's just the spell that needed to be corrected. The Column of Fire spell, which they've ended up correcting anyway. So you might as well allow sisters to choose a spell again, because it was really just being able to cast multiple columns that was a problem. Now it isn't, because they all move anyway. They all move randomly, so you have no control over them. So you might see if people had 3 units of sisters, then they might. So basically, Wood Elves have got a unit that's a very, very fast. It's actually their heavy cavalry unit, because they've got a 4 at ward save. And they can cast a spell with a bound spell with up to power level 2. I think if you've got a champion and a standard bearer, then you end up with +2. I think it's +1 for each of them. Or is it? I can't remember. I don't think. Maybe it is just +2 for each of them. I can't remember exactly what the rule is. But anyway, they used to be able to pick a spell from, is it Elementalism and Battle Magic? Pick any one spell from those and then cast it. Actually nowadays, maybe Hammer Hand. It might work a bit better as like an assailment sort of thing, because like I said, they are heavy cavalry in terms of they've got a 4 at ward save. They just don't really have that great a set of attacks in combat, so they're a bit weird. Anyway, I've just spent 25 minutes talking about the meta. It's actually quite interesting at the moment how this is all shaping up and how it's developing, and the Renegades make it a bit more interesting as well in terms of like the variation between the two. I don't think there's enough data for Renegades and for overall meta to actually do any analysis as to whether Renegades is significantly skewing things. And the Renegade, it's an interesting because it's negative. I think I said this before, and I think I misspoke before, and I had to sort of clarify because I think I might have inadvertently upset somebody. Maybe Val, I don't know. But I was chatting to him subsequently, and I think I've sort of cleared the air a little bit. But what I really meant to say is my disappointment is for the fact that it needs to exist and that the game just isn't balanced, and why they decided not to support those factions. I mean, we all know why, right? We all know why. They decided not to go for Skaven because they were just about to re-release them in Age of Sigmar, so they didn't want a Skaven release conflicting with the Age of Sigmar stuff. They also don't want people to be able to buy the old crappy no, they're not crappy actually. I quite like the old clan models, but they look good when in like mass ranks on a table. Individual, that's another point that I need to talk about in a sec. But they didn't want people to be able to buy like big cheap boxes, relatively cheap anyway, boxes of clan rats and then use them in Age of Sigmar. So they did that because they don't want people saving money, because they want more money. They didn't go for Chaos Dwarves because they're about to do them in Age of Sigmar. They didn't go for Dark Elves because they're still included in the Cities of Sigmar roster for now, although I'm pretty confident that they won't be very shortly. And Dark Elves will be brought back to the old world. I'm fairly confident that that's going to happen in the next. They're going to be one of the first like unsupported factions that will be supported. I'm very surprised that it was Dark Elves that they kept in the Cities of Sigmar and not Dwarves. I thought Dwarves were going to be the last ones to go, because Dark Elves being in Cities of Sigmar was always felt like a bit of a thematic clash. Really, it didn't seem to make any sense at all. And they've basically confirmed that was always a bit of a fudge, because they haven't made like Cities of Sigmar multi-race, which I'm quite surprised at, because like the direction they've gone in terms of like inclusivity and all that kind of stuff, you'd have thought they'd have done that with like Cities of Sigmar, and like had like dwarves and elves and stuff fighting alongside each other, so you'd have like these units of cities stuff and they're all different races in like the same uniform, and I thought that could have looked quite cool thematically. Or you could have given each like race different jobs, like the elves are the archers and the dwarves are like the I don't know, the custodians or guardians, or town guard or something like that, or mine guard or whatever, and engineers and so on. And then you could have like the humans being like you sort of the standard numerate swordsman troop sort of thing. So there's loads of things they could have done with cities, and they decided to just make it men only, which is a bit odd, considering the other direction of travel. But anyway, I don't quite understand that. Let's look at some tournaments and lists and stuff then. That's part one of the video done in half an hour. Well done me. Well done me. Not bad. Latest results. Now, there was a tournament, this one, that I forgot. Apparently I missed last week. So I can't remember its name, sorry, but somebody put in the comments I missed it. So here it is. This took place last weekend. Or was it the weekend before? No, he said he missed one, but that's 15. I don't understand. What's he said he's run a tournament. Sorry, I got a what? Oh, right. I said latest results. Where does it? Where does it go? I wonder how this, like, how recent is recent. It seems to be, like, quite a big date range. But anyway, well done to Cody taking it out with Wild Herd. Luke with Orcs and Goblins, and Tomb Kings coming in third there. Wild Herd list, we've got a Bray Shaman level 2. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing about the Wild Herd, is that you got some really cheap wizards. So he's got a level 4 Great Bray Shaman, 150 points. He's got a level 2 Bray Shaman. He's got another Bray Shaman, which will be a level 1 on a chariot. He's then got this Primal War Herd, which I quite like. It's a mix of Gauls and Ungors, so you can basically give it all Ungors for rank bonuses and to die against shooting, and then the Gauls basically survive till combat, so that's pretty good. And he's got the Totem of Rust there, which I think improves their AP, something like that. He's got another Primal War Herd. Again, it's not massive. They're 24 blocks are reasonable size, but they're not massive. And he's got some warhounds just to scat around and screen and stuff like that, and maybe do a bit of war machine hunting. They can do that job. He's got some Ungor raiders, which I think have ambush inbuilt. I think a lot of these have ambush inbuilt actually. He's got a Razor Gore, some Dragon Ogres, and a Cockatrice, and a Herdstone. So not. This is only a 1,500-point tournament, so he's not gone heavy into anything, but that's just a sort of a pretty typical Wild Herd list. You tend to see like a War Gore, is that what they're called? Beastman Warlord, sorry. Or like a Minotaur Lord with like Slug Skin and stuff like that. Also in a 2K list to add a bit of punch. He's gone like totally for the magic route there. No Hag Tree Fetish, which is interesting. That's normally a pretty much must include, but he managed to win without Hag Tree Fetish, so that's quite interesting. Right, so that's the Battle for the Badlands. Let's have a look at Australia. Latest results. Anything that took place over the last weekend. Castle Assault happened. Yeah, I like the look of that. But there doesn't seem to be any results there from last weekend. Old grudges took place. Congrats to Ed M, Jeff Googe, and Rowan K for finishing up with a podium there. Beastman Brayhord Herds coming first. Warriors of Chaos again still podiuming, so that's pretty good. He's gone for a Gore Beast Chariot. No Gore. Because he wanted to keep the favour and because basically the new restriction on 25% on any one unit really does affect Chaos, because quite often you'd see like a Chaos Lord on a Dragon or a Manticore or something being in like the 600 to 800 point mark. So that Chaos Lord you've had to do something with. He's then got a level 3 Sorcerer Lord on a steed with a load of cool stuff. Diabolic Splendor is -1 to hit and shooting. Earthing Rod is like reroll miscast rolls or something like that. Biting Blade is just AP2 Armor Bane 1 magical, which is hand weapons AP1 magical anyway, so it's actually like 10 points for a reasonable upgrade. He's then got Brazen Collar, which is magic res 2. Favour of the Gods, which allows them to reroll those god things. So there's a lot going on there, a lot of rules to remember. He's then got an Exalted Champion on foot, which isn't the BSB, so that's interesting, with another Brazen Collar. So presumably the Exalted Champion goes in this unit of Chaos Warriors here. He's then got a unit of Marauders, 2 units of Dogs, and some Chosen Knights. I don't like Chosen Knights because they just seem too flaky. Like, you fail one armor save and you've lost 50 points, so they're not, unless you like invest in the Blasted Standard, which allows you to reroll ones for armor saves. Yeah, I'm not convinced they're that good. I much prefer just normal Chaos Knights, to be honest, than Chosen. Although I think Chosen Warriors I massively rate. I think they're great. But Gigantic Spawn, I really like those as well. Gigantic Spawn of Nurgle, like you see that so often because it gives it a 5-up regen. Like, I wish the gigantic spawn were all like 200 points and they all had like a 5-up regen, because you're not going to choose anything other than the regen. I've tried the others, but they're just not as effective. Like they're just, they quite often don't get to combat, and they don't need any other benefits in combat because they're already quite good. So, that's gigantic spawn, and then beastman. Oh, I didn't look at that list, did we? So here we go. Yeah, Doom Bull, Slug Skin, blah blah blah. Bedazzling Helm, Full Plate Chaos Armor. Oh, I forgot about the yeah. So the Beastman you can take. So he's got like a 4-up save, 3-up save, with a great 3-up save. Yeah, -1 to hit in combat. He's got a 3-up save because that gives Helm gives you +1 to your save, doesn't it? So he's got a 4. Oh, just Slug Skin, or is that just? I think Slug Skin's just -1 to hit, isn't it? Or it could be. I can't remember exactly. I think Slug Skin's the -1 to hit. Bedazzling Helm is another -1 to hit, so he's -2 to hit, and then he's basically got a 3-up, maybe 2-up save in combat, and he's a Doom Bull, which means he's got about 4 million attacks at Strength 5, AP 12. It's not quite that, but it's not far off. The Doom Bulls are ridiculous. You've got to be very prejudicial in terms of taking that mofo down. Then we've got a Great Prey Shaman with the Hag Tree Fetish, as usual. Hag Tree Fetish allows you to re-roll wound rolls for magic missiles. Maybe vortices as well. I'm not entirely sure. It's definitely magic missiles. And the reason everybody takes that is because the Beastman Law of Beasts, or whatever it is. Anyway, that's a normal list of signature spells. One of them is called Vile Tide. It does 5d6 strength 1 hits, no armor saves. Maybe no wards, but definitely no armor saves. So, no, maybe no regen as well. But it's definitely no armor saves. It's horrendous. So 5d6 of those, just to sort of explain the maths quickly. You probably get like 17, 18 hits, right? And then you're rolling 6s to wound against pretty much everything. Which is, that means 3. And then you get to reroll your fails. So probably another 3. So it's like doing 6 mortal wounds with Hag Tree Fetish. It's 3 without and 6 with. It's ridiculous. Like, it's such a good spell. Such a good spell. I don't think it should be no armor saves. I think it should be like AP something or other. Like, just change the AP. Or make them strength 3, AP 2. Because it's basically supposed to like simulate summoning like, I don't know, a load of creepy crawlery sort of, it's like a rat swarm or a swarm of, like something for the mummy, that kind of thing. Maybe no AP. Well, I was going to say give that spell to Khemri if it's something out of the mummy, but Khemri are already good enough. They don't need Vile Tide. Right, I don't know what I'm talking about now. I'm just rambling on. So we've got some Gauls and some Ungors and some Razor Gauls and some Dragon Ogres and a gigantic spawn of Nurgle. Yeah, good list. I can see that doing well. It's got, the thing with Beastman is it's got lots of little units that can do little jobs, and it's very sort of chip damagey. So it's very much like, oh, you've killed my unit, but I've done a few wounds to you. And then, oh, you've killed another unit, but I've done a few more wounds to you. And oh, you've killed that final unit, but now you're also dead. And the 3 units you killed cost about 20p, and the 1 unit that I managed to kill cost about 50 quid. So I'm quids in at this stage. Is more or less how Beastmen play. Apart from that big block with the Minotaur in, that's just big smashy fun time. Cool. TTW Gawler beginner event. Sean Davis managed to win it with Orcs and Goblins. I quite like this, like having beginner events. I think that's a really good, really smart thing for the community to be doing. I really think we ought to like introduce skill levels. There's not enough people doing it yet, but I really do think we ought to introduce like skill levels within tournaments and allow people to like self-categorize. So, for instance, one of the things I like about stuff like strongman and powerlifting and all that kind of stuff, well, particularly strongman anyway, is that you enter at the level you think you can compete at. So, like, you know, at the moment, I'm competing at intermediate level. So it basically goes beginner, novice, intermediate, opens, and opens is like proper strongman. So at the moment, I'm at more or less intermediate level. In that, if I entered at a beginner or a novice level, I'd expect to win the tournament, to win it. But if I entered at intermediate, then, you know, as it stands at the moment, I'm really struggling to not come last at the moment. But I'm in an annoying spot in terms of my own strength, which is very frustrating. But anyway, enough of that. The point I'm making is that it would be really nice if we had that kind of, I think in future, you know, maybe miles down the line, if we started to think that's the direction we're maybe heading in, that would be really cool. Because I think it would make a much more vibrant competitive environment if people were able to sort of, you know, because then if you just wanted a fun tournament and you like had a bit of an experimental list, you could enter as a novice and just say, well, look, I've got this list. I don't think it's any good. I might be a good player, but, you know, whatever. Or you could have like the same convention as in Strongman, which is like, you know, if you've podiumed at one level, then you got to go up, basically. Don't know. Pardon me. Should have had a coffee beforehand. Maybe it stopped me yawning. Jesus. Why don't I like coffee anymore? It's so weird. I used to really love it. Like it used to like taste really nice, and now it just tastes a bit bleh. It tastes a bit stale. Do you know what I mean? These are fresh beans. They're like, you know, they're decent beans that are freshly ground, so it shouldn't be. Anyway, it's got nothing to do with Old World. I don't know what I'm talking about. Gawler, War in the Old World, The Land of the Dead. Well done to Kemri winning The Land of the Dead. Absolutely makes sense. We've got an Expeditionary Force and some Beastmen there, so well done to those three guys. Let's just have a quick look at this Kemri list. Yeah, Armor of Ages, Bone Dragon, Mortuary Priest, High Priest, Double Dragon. Wow. With the new restrictions, that's pretty cool. And then we've got a big block of Skellies. Another big block of Skellies. Interesting. Some Horse Archers, some Scorpions, and maximum number of Necrosphinx. So that's cool. Necrosphinx are still very good. It's just you can only have 2 instead of 3 of them now, which I think actually does work. On like unit balance, if any TOs are listening, please, 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 can we go for a restriction, which is essentially wherever the unit is native on the force organization chart, that's where the restriction applies. So, for instance, Cathay have these things called balloons. Now, they're a rare slot. Therefore, I would argue the 0 to 2 limit on rare slot should apply to them universally. So if you can take them as a special slot, you still only can have 2. So you can have 1 in rare and pop 1 in special. If you wanted to take a sentinel as well, for instance, you could have 2 of them in a sentinel. If you take 1 as a mount, that also takes one of your limits. So if you have 2 magistrates, both on balloons, that's it for balloons. So you can do 2 magistrates on balloons and 2 sentinels. You know, you can do that. But, you know, just I think that kind of native 0 to 2 for rare should apply whether they use as mounts or whatever. And the same with special choices and all that kind of stuff. Like, I really would like to see... And I think those restrictions aren't just, like, good for game balance, but actually they're really good for aesthetics as well, because you don't like I've played against these cookie cutter armies before where people are like, I'm just going to repeat that over and over again. Like, I've got this really good unit and I'm just going to take loads of it, and that's basically going to be my army. And I've played against those armies before, and they're really boring to play against because it's just the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And it wears you down and it's boring. So you want a bit of variety on the tabletop. So I think those restrictions are good for gameplay, as in making it a bit more fun, but also balance, because there are some stuff in rare slots which are obviously broken, right? There are some... Now, if there's stuff in core slots that are obviously broken, that's obviously a bit more difficult to deal with, but hey-ho. Right. Actually, let's have a look at this Expeditionary Force. Burlock, Engineer, Sapper, Thane... with on you see that quite a bit, Battle Standard Bearer with shield bearers and preservation and all this kind of stuff. I'm starting to think this is a bit of a cheat code. like a mega super. Because I suppose the shield bearers does give exit wounds as well. 2 up save, immune to killing blow, 5 up ward, +1 to combat res, making +2. Full plate, great weapon. Actually, yeah, I think that's quite good. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense actually. Because then you can put him in a unit of something. Cool. So that was Australia. Anything happening in Belgium over? No, I want latest results, don't I? Nothing in Belgium. Canada, I've covered. China, I've covered. Just as an aside, right? If we're going to be banning Russia, we need to be like, if we're going to be like not reporting results, like these guys are doing a genocide at the moment as well. Like, just just to throw that out there. Like, if we're talking about relative morals, Denmark, we've got this rogue trader, CPH the Old World RTT 5, Great Unclean tournament, and annoyingly, Vampire Counts won the Great Unclean. Look, there's Vampire Counts and Renegades. Interesting. So, could you choose to use the Renegade rules or not? And if so, that's weird. Is this an issue with collecting the data, in that they are, Renegades are being taken, but it's not being recorded? Maybe. Matthias, we've got Master Necromancer, Scepter of Denaro, another Master Necromancer, 2 Tomb Banshees, Hex Wraiths, Mortis Engine. So I'd imagine this is like one of those tournaments where they've limited the number of screams. So you've got 2 there and a Mortis Engine there, making 3. It's normally limited to 3, if it is. Then we've got some Graveguard with the Drakenhof banner. That gives them a 5 up regen. That's pretty mega, really, because they're toughness 4 as well. They've then got heavy armor and a shield. I take it the champion's got a charmed shield. I forget what that does. 6 up ward or something. And then that's a bit of magic res. So that's a pretty elite unit for the White Lord with a BSB. Also with a charmed shield. And to go in, Helm of Commandment allows him to... leadership test, he can give them +1 weapon skill or +D3 weapon skill or a bit of move or something. It's that kind of benefit. Yeah, that's a pretty good list actually. And a little Cairn Wraith just for a spare 50 points to be a pain in the arse and go around and hunt war machines, because it's ethereal, of course, so it can do that quite effectively. And then the Renegade list, is that much different? We got Terrorgeist. That's exciting. You don't see them very often. And then some Graveguard and Cryptgore. So it's a slightly different flavour. Yeah, another Terrorgeist instead of the Matthias went for quite a cool. I really like Hex Race. I think the models are cool and the rules are pretty nice as well. They do exactly what you'd expect them to do as well. So I quite like the rules. They're quite well written for them. And then you've got this Orc and Goblin list, which is a Black Orc on the traditional Wyvern with the traditional stuff. Some Goblin big bosses with wolves. They're interesting. Why 3 of them? Because you only need 1 to unlock the Wolf Riders. Then he's only got 1 Wolf Rider mob anyway. Then he's got quite a lot of Night Goblins with some Fanatics. Do you remember the early days of Old World where, a year ago, where everybody was going on about how broken Fanatics are? Turns out they weren't, right? And I did say that at the time. Told you so. Then we've got some... don't know why I said that. Well, just in the sense that when I say Cathay are probably a problem, that, I tend to be right. I know it sounds a bit big-headed, but I do, and that does that hubris does turn to nemesis, of course. So I'm sure one of these calls. In fact, I'm sure the thing that I predict the most stridently will be the thing that I'm most wrong about. That's normally how that works. So I've just got to be careful about not being strident, but. Yeah, I feel Cathay's going. I didn't really feel never really felt that fanatics were a problem until somebody explained to me that they weren't counting the victory points if the fanatics were still alive, because technically, and I remember when somebody explained it to me, I was like, well, actually, technically, that's wrong. Like, that's a technically argument that is factually incorrect. But anyway, I never understood that ruling or reading of the rules, to be honest. But anyway, that was a bit problematic if that was true, but it obviously wasn't. And then we've got some Doom Divers who I love Doom Divers. I think they're great. Cool, like the models and everything. Finland, anything happening in Finland? Oh no, latest results. No results in Finland. En France, nul. Nothing in Germany. Nothing in Italy. Nothing in Japan. Netherlands. De Dobbelstein Escalation League. Apparently. It's an escalation league, though, so that's going to take a while to finish, and by the time it finishes, I probably will have forgotten about it. Donkey Kong 2025 took place in New Zealand a couple of weeks ago now. Corey managed to beat it with Beastman. Oh no, hold on. What's happened here? There's something gone wrong with these results, hasn't it? Right, second and third managed to come second and third with no results, and then I'm not sure what happened here. Yeah. Is it one that Collins got from... I think it's one that Collins got from... maybe a spreadsheet. Yeah, somebody sent them in a spreadsheet. So I'm sure those rankings and the points and stuff are all correct, but sadly we can't really have a look at anything. Norway, I don't think there was anything. Any onlines reporting recently? No. Poland, nothing. Spain, surely Spain. Torneo, the Old World, Kingdom 7, 17th of August. So no rankings there. Metropolis Centres had another tournament. Hozemi coming first. I think he's new to Metropolis Centre, is he? I don't know. I can't remember his name. Probably I have seen it and I've just forgotten. Apologies if that's the case. We've got a Black Hawk Warbus, Trollo Trousers, traditional. Then we've got a Spider, which is unusual. I think really good. Because the Spider's on a big base, so it extends the range of your Wild Magic spells. 2 of your Wild Magic spells gives you like reroll 1s to hit, I think, and the other one gives is it extra D3 to charges, something like that. So you got 2 spells that buffs basically your entire army if you stick it on an Ragnarok, which I think is probably what he's doing here, because then you can get to your squig herds and give them and these more of a charge. Obviously, it doesn't affect Mangler squigs because they don't charge. But, it gives you loads and loads of benefits. And then you've got a Night Goblin Big Boss with a Giant Cave Squig as well. Which probably goes in here, if I'm being honest. Yeah, so that's an interesting list where it's got a bit of everything. Orky. So I quite like that, actually. So you got some Orcs, you got Night Goblins. You got 2... Yes, you got some Squigs, you got some Night Goblins. You got some Orcs there, more Night Goblins. Quite a lot of Night Goblins. Black Orcs. Yeah, it's quite a varied list. Quite interesting. Well done. Well done there, sir. And then Cathay coming in second, managing a draw. Who drew with Cathay? High Elves. Interesting. So this High Elf player who lost their other 2 games managed a draw against the Cathay guy. Oh, if anybody went to this one, please comment down below how that draw happened. That would be really interesting. So he's got... okay, he's got... That's on a Sky Lantern, yeah. So Sky Lantern, Sugar Zaddy, 2 little units of Lancers, who have both got ambushers, 2 smaller units of Jade Warriors, 2 cannon, obviously, 2 Fire Rain as well. And a Sentinel, a Granite Sentinel. which I can't remember what a Granite Sentinel does. Does it get a 5-up ward as well or something? I can't remember. 4-up save, maybe? Has it got an extra armor save? I can't remember exactly, but it's something like that. And I don't know why people aren't going for Jade, because like bound spell power level 3 on a big monster like that is just nuts. That or the Obsidian one. I quite like the Obsidian one, because that's like everybody's -1 toughness or strength or something near it, isn't it? So that's pretty cool. But yeah, cool list. Interesting. It's not gone balloon heavy, but you know, like I said, I don't think you need to. I don't think balloons are the only thing that's broken about Cathay. I do think the Ogre Loader is way too cheap, because he's 35 points. And that's what an Ogre costs, just a bog standard Ogre. So like, you know, he confers significant advantages over that of an Ogre. So that upgrade should be, I don't know, I think 60 points seems fair. But they've totally mispointed that particular upgrade, but you know, whatever. Because it kind of also makes your cannon like more or less immune to like war machine hunters. So like those little units of that are very maneuverable and can get around your army and attack war machines. You know, that the Wood Elves excel at. I mean, what are Wood Elves going to do against Cathay? Like, there's literally nothing I can think of that Wood Elves have in their arsenal that could beat Cathay. That, like, literally, you know, unless they go like full wild hunt and just try and stomp all over them. But then, like, they're just going to get. At some point, they're going to hit the buffers, and then as soon as they hit the buffers, it's all dead, because you've just got a load of glass cannons. So as soon as the Cathay player stops you and turns you around, that's it. You're all gone. So, you know, you can kill half of them, but then you get tabled. Is how I see that going down. But you know, whatever. We have actually got an Orion's Wild Hunt list here, so that's pretty cool. Let's have a look. Orion, of course. I still just don't get how Orion's 455 and Miao Ying is only 30 points more. It's ridiculous. And then we've got a couple of Glade Lords, both bears. Yeah. Great Stags. Yeah, they're pretty decent. Yeah, so he's gone heavy with the Wild Rider. You know, it is Orion's Wild Hunt, of course, but it's gone heavy on Wild Riders, Beast Packs. Those are just to act as screens. I think these are just to get in the way and stop the frenzied units having to charge. So he's got a lot of. He needs to, because Wild Riders have frenzy. They need to have like a lot of board control in terms of like controlling your own forces. So. Yeah, but that's Metropolis Centre. That's the result from Spain. So then let's have a look. We've got Switzerland. Nothing in Switzerland. Online. Did I check online? Let's do US and then finish with Old Blighty. Right, so we had a tournament here. East Bay, no rankings available yet, so we might see that at some point in the future. Hobby chest battles in the old world. Nate Medlock with Beastman managing to win. So well done, Nate. There. Wood Elves coming second. Jonathan Chevalier. I'm assuming it was quite a small tournament. Yep, 6 people. Yeah, but well done anyway to Rude Dog, Jonathan Chevalier, and Nate for winning that one. Well done to Pete for being the only person to turn up to Etting Games. Akron Brew Brawl Old World Fall Feast 25. Is it fall or autumn? I think it still feels a bit summery here, but you know, whatever. Bretonian Exiles managing to win that. I'm not sure how big that one is. Not very big, but well done to those chaps. I hope you had fun. Round Robin Rumble. That took 2 days. That's presumably... Oh no. What happened here? So 10 people turned up. Interesting little tournament. No results there, but there's something going on with the rankings, so I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. So there are placings, but doesn't appear to be. That's weird. Has he turned off pairings? I don't know. Some people turn bits off on here, so it doesn't look like they're being done alphabetically, does it? No, I don't know what's going on there. Oh, looking at the states, was I? Oh, and where have we got any actual results? That's somebody doing something stupid for breakfast. Oh, that'll be somebody making a milkshake. I thought I'd do a quick vid before everybody started to get up, and obviously I wasn't quite early enough up. 1500 1v1 Warhammer at Hayward Delihammer, which took place a couple of weekends ago now. Jack Zimmerman won with Wood Elves, so I think that's what list is worth look. Oh, it's a 1500 list, so it's not really worth looking at, is it? But actually, let's have a quick look. Just seeing, he's gone Dryads, few Tweaking, bit of everything really. Yeah, not great. I mean, it's great that he managed to win 3 games with that particular list. So, well done, Jack, for, top marks for managing to win. But it's a struggle. You look at any Wood Elf list and you think, oh, it's going to be a struggle to win games with that. They don't have the shenanigans that they used to have, and I think they should have more shenanigans, like more ability to turn stuff off or not be shot at, or get out of way of combat. Like, you need a lot more fire and flee. In fact, would I do that? Next time they do an Arcane Journal, do a Wood Elf faction where everything gets feigned flight. Try that. I think that might help. Maybe all the elven stuff, not the tree spirit stuff, but the elven stuff gets feigned flight. I think that would be quite interesting. Yeah. And then you'd have to do something with Warhawks because they've already got that, or anything that already has that. So maybe give them an ability that means they're not -1 to hit when standing and shooting, something like that. That'd be cool. Just to make them the avoidance faction, so they just kind of get up close and then shoot and run away, and then you never really get to close combat with them, unless it's on their terms. And then the fact that they are generally weak, you've got some, because the problem is, right, with the 2,000 point list on a 6x4 table, even with Wood Elves, there's just not enough space to get out of the way all the time. So you've got to really engage at some point, and that's problematic. And you're not quite quick enough that you can literally spread out and then converge and then spread out again. Unlike in Total War, where your units can they can be all over the map, and then suddenly you can get them all into one place, basically kill a thing, and then you can disperse them again and then confuse the AI. That's not how they work and that's basically how they used to work on the tabletop as well. So they kind of need to do something to bring that back a little bit. But yeah. Lone Star Open, Old World. So we've got an actual 5-game tournament here. Phil Carl managed to win with Nomadic War, taking a different list. Phil Carl, of course, the top player at the moment, according to the current algorithm. Well, formula. It's not really an algorithm, but... Well, I mean, a formula is an algorithm, technically, I think. Oh, I forget what an algorithm is. I thought an algorithm was like a process rather than a formula, whereas a formula is a process. Anyway, shut up, Dan. So let's have a look at this Lone Star Open. So we had 18 people playing 5 games, and Dallas Parker managed to win with High Elves. In fact, the 2 top players were both High Elf players. 2 points in it. 2 points in it. Wowzers. That ended up quite close. Did they draw with each other? That would be hilarious. So Dallas Parker had Dragon, yeah, BSB, no, not BSB, just a Noble on a Griffin. Then we've got a Prince on a Dragon with Regen and Armour of Calador. And then we've got an Archmage on a Steed, and then we've got a mounted list basically with a little unit of Sisters. That's interesting, given the focus on infantry nowadays. And then we've got to the other high elf list was a prince, level 3. Also, Leland has gone for double dragon, sea guards, infantry, and swordmasters, spears, sea guards. So no cavalry, double dragon, and 3 pretty decent blocks of infantry, to be honest. The swordmasters, of course, being the most decent, but still, totally opposite lists. Totally opposite lists. And they drew against each other in round 3. Wow, 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 wow. Nice. And Dallas took it because he yeah, and that's what cavalry and Swift Strike give you. They give you the ability to table your opponent, whereas if you've got strong infantry, yes, you can win, and you can win a bit more reliably, but it's difficult to table them because you haven't really got the big fast units to run everything down. Whereas with a cavalry list you do. So cavalry still have that strength over infantry in terms of getting top of the meta, but top of the tournament. But that was really the difference there. I think if Leland had have had maybe a unit of cavalry instead of the spears, for instance, then maybe he could have done better. Don't know. If you're listening, please put a comment down below. Do you agree? Do you not? It's I'd be really interested in your opinion on that. Then we also had high elves coming towards the bottom as well. So I think the high elves are pretty well balanced actually, which is quite cool. It's the first time in Warhammer history that they've managed to release a high elf faction and it not be broken on release. So well done, GW. You've sort of, and then you went to the Cathay, which is just Lumineth. The more I think about Cathay, the more I think, they've just cookie cutted Lumineth, haven't they? In that you've got a decent infantry block that's actually quite hard to kill and quite hard to shift. You've got some sort of slightly naff cavalry that have a very unique and special battlefield role that's sort of a bit weird. You've got a horrible flying thing that's really difficult to pin down and does lots of range damage. I mean, in AOS that was called Sevireth, and now we have magistrates on balloons. You've got sort of an immortal god wizard thing that's quite good at casting spells and has some really nasty ones. And that's Miao Ying or Teclis. You look at the parallels and it's like, you say they brought some sensitivity people in to sort of help them write Cathay, but like it just looks like you've just taken Lumineth and put an old world like reskin on it. It's and the rules are quite similar as well, like the weird shenanigans you've given everything. The only difference is really the Sentinel, whereas the big weird mountain monkey, whatever the hell it was from Age of Sigmar, was not very good on release, whereas the Sentinel is quite good. But other than that, the more I say it, the more the parallels just are pretty obvious. But to me anyway. Maybe that's just their design choice in how they do stuff nowadays, and but whatever. They had Old World Day at Battle Pub at Rolling Oaks Mall. So William Pittman managed to win with Ogres, taking Renegades. Skaven Renegades coming in third, but I'm presuming there wasn't a lot of players, because if the person coming third only won with 2 games, then 10 players. Huh. Okay, one of them. No, not 7 players. Okay, that's not. But anyway, well done to those chaps. It's it's hard to finish a day sometimes. And then we've got one with the Old World RTT at Malvern. That's normally fairly well attended, but you got Cathay. Oh no, two wins there, so I'm not really. Hold on. Am I getting these? That was the one where yeah. And this has got 3 people on 3 wins at the top. That's interesting. So this one had 30 people, 3-game tournament at Western A. Oh, it's supposed to be in the United States. I thought it was was getting like really bad deja vu then. I'm sure where was I? Defense of the outpost, I think I got down to there. Yeah, Colin, could you work on this screen? Because it's good in terms of accessing. It's no good for me, though. Was it? Yeah, that was the... Here we go. So here's Old World Day Battle. That wasn't rolling... When did it go to Australia, then? How weird. Right, anyway. Oh, yeah, you only had 7 people turn up. There, that's right. So how did I get to Australia? Very weird. Lone Star Open... The Old World. We talked about that. We've done those High Elves. Gigabytes Cathay, August 9th. Troll Horde with no list. That's annoying. Got Renegade Vampire Cat. I mean, I'll look at it. I don't think it will have anything... No, nothing exciting in that. Well, you know, other than the usual exciting things, but nothing unusual, I guess, is what I'm saying. Sorry. Very exciting, not unusual. And then Phil Cole's Nomadic War. Phil Cole, best player in the world at the moment. Has double Wyvern, Troll Hide Trousers, Black Hawk War Boss nonsense. Has a Black Orc Chariot. Yeah, it's Nomadic War, isn't it? It's got 2 Black Orc Chariots. So, yeah, I guess. Fair enough. Big Wolf Rider with Famed Reserve move. Boss Spider Balance. A lot of poison attacks, sure, but I'm not sure that that's worth taking. 400 points seems a lot. But then again, you've got the odd knob in there, maybe. It's got like... And a big boss who's the BSB, so maybe that's quite an interesting idea, actually, making like a big unit of like effective and flexible wolf riders that can do different jobs. So, you know, they're pretty effective at shooting, particularly against large targets, you know, because they got the poison attacks, and obviously they've got 26 shots at poison attacks, so you know, they might cause a few wounds on a monster, and then even if a monster charges them, they've got like ranks and stuff, and ranks and BSB, and their own banner. They are immune to Impetuous, so you can't bait them out, or you get to reroll. I can't remember what the Thinking Orcs does, something like that. And then he's got the Idol of Cork and some really cool stuff on the... So he can give himself like rerolls to hit and make them a bit more effective in. So yeah, I mean that's an interesting. 400. So it's 750 points in a big unit of Goblin Wolf Riders, but actually they could be quite effective. And then of course you've got the 2 Wyvern Black Hawk War Bosses, which are a problem. You know, because they're big and tough and hard, and you know difficult to take down. Like you're not going to take them down in one round of combat, for instance. Yeah, actually, I really like that list. It's got a lot of play to it. Like, you look at it first off and it's a bit underwhelming, but actually the more you think about it, the better it gets. So, well done, Phil. That's a good list, and managed to win the thing. Ogre Kingdom Renegade list is lots of Saber Tusks. Oh, they're the cheat code, eh? Oh. And Noblars and some Iron Guts, and yeah, I like Iron Blasters and more Fan Cav. Yeah, this bit's nice. This bit's nice. I need some Iron Blasters for my ogres, but I don't really want to get any more ogres because I painted my ogres as like a concept army. So I did it all basically with this size brush, with a big brush and contrast paints, the whole thing. So there's no real apart from the white fur. I did a bit of white dry brushing on that afterwards because it just looks so good for minimal effort. But like, yeah, the rest of it just very, very simply made, just to prove that you can paint a decent army with no talent. And I don't have much talent when it comes to painting, so I'm quick, but that's about it. Cool. So that's the United States, I think. Then in the UK, what went down in London town? UK. So we had Tom Gould winning this Old World tournament at the weekend over Adam and Nick. Well done, Tom. And others, of course. The Errata Crusade Barnsley 2000 Old World. Those two have both finished. Bunker Event Old World August. That's also finished. A Drunk Filled Frenzy. War for the Old World 2,600 points. I think that might be Rob Symes' event. I love the fact that he's trying different points limits because, like you said, I don't think 2,000 points is the kind of finish zone. I don't think that's like the most effective that tournaments are. 2,000 points doesn't feel like enough for some reason. And from like Heresy, that ended up being 3,000 points, being the standard points limit. So, we just gotta be, and obviously stuff like Lord of the Rings is 1,200. So just because 40k is 2,000 points doesn't mean that an Age of Sigmar is 2,000 points. Doesn't mean that the Old World has to be. I suspect that 2,300 to 2,600 is the right range for a tournament. But whatever. The Wild Hunt, Old World, Lionheart. So we've got quite a few tournaments that finished in the UK, and War for the Old World 12. As long as I've got that, that's all right. So the Errata Crusade in Barnsley, and that's how they talk up in Barnsley. Matthew Jones managed to win with Mortuary Cult, Warriors of Chaos, Walls of the Sea, Matt Baker, Ross Cooper. Congrats to those. The Walls of the Sea list. Oh, no list. But well done to those chaps. No lists here either, but Tom Gould and Adam Healy taking the top with Vampire Counts over Nick Walsh in this 12-person tournament that took place in England. The Bunker Event, again, really no lists at all for any of these. Oh no, there are some at the end. Good. No lists for Adam. Oh, Adam West. Oh, nice to see Adam there. Winning a tournament with Vampire Cats. Well done, dude. Congrats. Brenning and Edward Milton coming in second. No list again. But yeah, well done, Adam. It is hard work winning a tournament. I did it once, long time ago. Toby Resnick managing to win this GT. Oh, only 8 players. So he pretty much played everybody there. War for the Old World. Andy Ransom. Yeah, this will be Rob Symes. Only 8 people turn up. Odd. Normally he's packed. Am I being unfair? No, because he's got because he's got 4 tables at the top, 4 in the middle, and then like 4 or 5 downstairs now. So he should be able to do like 20, nearly 30 people, I think. So that's weird that only 8 turn up, but whatever. Ed Fawcett of Close Order going second with Dark Elves. Grand Cathay coming top. No lists. What? No lists. And then, well, actually, let's just check, make sure it's not just a link going wrong between Old World rankings and this roster. Oh, it does have lists. Oh, I need to check old. Oh, poop. I'll do the others later. All right. What do I want? I want to have a look at the Cathay list. See what he's gone for. He's got Miao Ying, which will be a 3D print, of course, because they haven't released the model yet, because they're idiots. Gatekeeper. They seem to be releasing the model with the second wave with a new... Oh, I need to talk about that in a sec. I'll do that as another video, actually. 119. We're up to in this one. So we've got a Gatekeeper, we've got a Lord Magistrate, presumably on a thing. On a Sky Lantern, yeah. And then he's got... Oh. 2 cannons, that's it. Fire Rain. Some Warriors. ×3. And some Lancers, small unit of Lancers. 2 Sugar Daddies. Interesting. So that's not a massively OP list. And that the fact that he's won. Toby Resnick's a good player. Right? Toby is a good player. But still, I guess there's limited opposition. Yeah, I feel like Cathay are a bit too like forgiving, and I think the same is true of like Bretonia and Khemri. I think Cathay, Bretonia, and Khemri are basically Warhammer Old World on easy mode to an extent. In that, essentially, Bretonia is so quick and has like such a variety of abilities to like get ward, regen, bonuses, lances, counter charge, fast cavalry, like really fast cavalry, re-rolling charge rolls. You know, they've got all these little rules that all add up to make them actually quite forgiving. Like you can make little mistakes and get away with it. Khemri's the same. Like you can heal quite significantly. You know, stuff's unbreakable, so slightly positioning something slightly wrong doesn't really matter because, you know, they'll just get a flank charge instead of like a front charge, and that's like an extra wound with combat res at the end, so it's not like the thing breaks and dies. So that's a bit more, and vampire counts I put there as well. Actually, the undead are easy mode because the impact of making mistakes is lessened. Yeah, and I think Cathay are the same. They've got enough tools. They've got enough tools in their kit bag that actually making mistakes is less impact. Like they've got high-ish leadership and the things that you can make positional mistakes with, i.e. the infantry, are cheap enough that you don't mind losing them. And I think that's the clever part of Toby's list, in that he's got some Jade Warriors. He's made this one the Dragon Guard, so, you know, he's made this one the Dragon Guard, which is cool. But these, you know, these 2 units are a bit more disposable, and 150 points. You make a mistake with that, yeah, it's 150 points, but it's not that bad, you know. And you can make a mistake with these, and probably the Jade Lancers. These are all cheap enough that it doesn't really matter if they're gone. You know, as long as you get point value for money for your artillery and for Miao Ying, you know, and the Sugar Daddies, then, you know, you're doing all right. You're doing all right. So, yeah, interesting. Right. The Wild Hunt of Athol Lorraine. 3-game tournament. Took place in Scotland. Interesting. I'm doing that terrible thing of, it's Scotland. Did Pash go? Because he's in Scotland. You know, Scotland's absolutely massive. I think it takes probably about as long to drive from one end of Scotland to the other as it does from England to another. So I was like saying, there's a tournament in England. Did Dan go? No, Dan didn't, because Dan's got family and other commitments. So that's the... and Dan has never gone further than about 3 hours for a tournament. So all these cool ones that happen in Southampton on the south coast, never been to any of those. I'd love to at some point, but anyway, Amy Chatley managed to win with Orcs and Goblins. So well done, Amy. Jamie Ferguson came second with Exiles, and Liam coming in third with Beastmen, which is fantastic news. Orcs and Goblins winning a tournament, very good. And then some Exiles. Let's have a look at the Exiles list. I mean, I'm presuming I know what's going to be in it. You got a Baron, Peg, Heroism, Baron, Peg, 90 Temper, Frontier Axe, yeah. Green Knight in this one, interestingly. Some Knights of the Round, Bowman, Man at Arms, Peg Knights. Just one unit of Peg Knights, very gentlemanly 5 Peg Knights. With a banner of Chalon, which means you don't get to stand and shoot against them. You don't like, people would keep going on about the reserve move banner and like how, you know, you definitely need that one. That's the only reason you go for Exiles. Bullshit. Look at this. You don't need it. Like I thought it was okay and it gave you game for like the first turn, but that's if you get the first turn, because if you don't, it's pointless. And now you can't charge with a reserve move anyway. Then, you know, it's of basically no value. which I've made more mistakes with reserve moves than without, so I don't like taking reserve move. Because you feel like you should move them just because you have, but quite often you've deployed them fine. I just use reserve move on my Chaos Warhounds when I take them because, like, you can do it on purpose, so you can put them out of position, but your opponent forgets they've got reserve moves, so you can move them back to where they need to be with the reserve moves, so you can kind of play games with them. But it's really only for mind games with the opponent. But yeah, pretty decent sized tournament. 16 people turning up to this. So, and Amy managing to win with this Orc and Goblin list, which we've not looked at yet. Which has level 3 Ragnarok Spider and Wow Magic. Finally, that's becoming the thing. And that's the general, so that's got an 18-inch aura. I've been talking about this since the beginning. I think that's really strong. It's just you haven't really seen it. Then we got an odd knob on a wolf chariot, blah blah blah, some cool stuff for level 4 and 2 level 3s. Wow, very very magic heavy list. Quite a lot of night goblins, not a huge amount of fanatics, only 5. Some squig hoppers, doom divers, which are great, and mangler squig. So yeah, that's a really good list actually. It's got a lot of game, a lot of cool stuff happening. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Lot of flexibility. It's got big units of infantry, it's got little units of light cavalry, it's got some stuff that functions like heavy cavalry, it's got some pretty decent war machines. And the thing with doom divers is because of the D3 correction, you can actually land the hole on characters. Yes, they get lookout, sir, but still you can use it to target them. There's nothing that says you can't, so they can be used to snipe characters, which is what makes them so good. And then we've got this Beastman list with Krelmore. I've not seen Krelmore. We've seen Krelmore, I think, once or twice near the top, so that's interesting. Got some Primal Warheads, again, made comments about those already. Yeah, I think we've pretty much saw this exact list somewhere else, didn't we? Or more or less that list. This one's got Hag Tree Fetish and Krelmore, so yeah, good list. Well done to Liam for wielding it. And then we had this Old World Lion's Heart 2K tournament, Errantry Crusade. It's 7 people, so not really representative of the overall meta, but still Errantry Crusade coming out top there. Talzin coming second. I'm surprised anybody with a Talzin list can actually win a game. So big props up to Oliver, because that's hard work. They're hard work. Let's see what he's taken. He's got a Glade Lord on a dragon. Cat. I forget what Cat does. What does Cat do? That's weird. The other day on my phone it said it gave me the chance to make a folder and to sort by faction, which it's not done. What was I doing? Wood elves. Have I got a wood elf list that I can just pop into? Really? I thought I did. Weird. Alright. I do have on my phone, but not on this. Wood elves. Where's wood elves? Wood elves. Talzin. What am I doing? I'm checking something. Cat. That's what I'm doing. I'm checking cat. Cat. Armorbane. Reroll any failed hits. Yeah, actually. For because the one that you typically see is bear, because strength and toughness by 1, which is pretty good. Because if he's on a great stag, great Glade Lord, I think he goes with strength 5, toughness 4. Which, for 15 points, absolute steal. Of course you're going to do that. Cat, though, on Bane 1 and reroll hits during challenge. Pretty good. Although, bear on a dragon, making him toughness 7. I think that's worth doing, unless it's been banned somewhere somehow. You got Spellweaver, which I like Spellweavers. I think they're good. Then you got Warden of Talzin. Don't they have... they've got Have they got magic? No, 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 no. They're like a dedicated BSB sort of lord, aren't they? So you got a lord level battle standard bearer. Basically, that's the cool thing about Talzin. Their BSBs are good. Well, goodish. I mean, they're still wood elves, so they're toughness 3 with no armor and very little protection. So the least they could do really is give the wood elf BSB an extra wound, really, isn't it? Got a big unit of Eternal Guard, which, light armor, shields, and I mean, look, they're okay because they got the light armor and shield option, and they got spears and stuff, and they can be drilled and veterans blah. They are, however, 13 points a model, right? So you give them shields and probably veteran and maybe drilled, and they're up to 16 points a model, right? That's twice the cost of a Cathay and trooper. Yes, you got veteran and all this cool stuff and all these stats and all these upgrades, but like out of the two, you take Cathay. Do you know what I mean? You just take it. It's so much better you get 2 extra wounds. Ridiculous. I just think that's what they've not really thought that through with wood elves. Like what do they have that's any good? You've got lots of stuff that does little bits. Guardians of Talzin. I mean, maybe they're good, and I've totally misunderestimated how good the Guardians of Talzin are. I don't think I have, but it's possible. Oh look, new folder. It's come up here. Haha. So somebody's I've got loads of bloody wood elf lists. How did I miss those? I thought I did. And then you got this. Guardians of Talzin, which are which are 18 points a model for toughness 3, light armor. They get shields. They've got the parry rule, I think, which doesn't reflect there. Obviously, it's not linked there. I think it is here. Hand weapon and shield, or spear and shield. So I guess hand weapon and shield, they got up to a 3-up save in combat because they get both that and the normal infantry one, which is pretty good. I mean, that's okay. But 18 points. I mean, they've got a lot of attacks. I don't know, maybe they are good. As long as you've got enough units that stop your opponent shooting at these so they can actually get into combat and do their work, then I guess they're okay. But the hand weapons don't really... You're going to have to do something that improves their output. What's he done? Nothing. Nothing. Like, surely you'd want, like... which one is it? Is it that one? No. 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 Which one is it? Is it that one? I thought they had one that buffed the unit, like made it better. No. No, I've just looked. It must maybe I don't know. 40 points is quite a lot for that. Armor Bane T, but I guess that's the only way. They've got a lot of attacks, so you might roll one. I mean, maybe you go for that. I don't know, but like, yeah, it's really difficult to. I really want to get a Wood Elf army, but I just can't. I can't. As you can probably tell by the fact I've got 4 theoretical lists here. Well, 3. I just can't figure it out. I just can't figure it out. I've got 2 Talzin lists on my phone as well. I'm trying to figure my way through. And I just can't work out what to do with the bloody things. Like it's impenetrable to me. So Wood Elf players, please tell me what I should put in a list, because I don't know, and I really want to join the ranks of Wood Elf players. And Skaven, weirdly, bit of a weird combination. Right, what's this? Chat. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Right. That's it. I've been through all the tournaments. I think if I've missed one, like genuinely, let me know. If you can link to like the results in the comments, then I'll definitely do it next time. I can't cover everything, obviously, because there's only me and it's easy to miss stuff. Yeah. Although this is really good for anybody who's wanting to find the tournament that they went to. It's, which is what it's designed for. So it's not really designed for people like me who basically want a list of everything that finished within the last 2 weeks. You know, regardless. Oh, hold on. Oh, it says America, doesn't it? Oh, and then we've got a number of players here finished. Did I look at that? Oh no, it's not. But it says finished there. But it's. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how this is recording some things. I think in future I definitely need to go through and actually just read them and spend a bit more time doing it properly, rather than sort of fudging through everything. But anyway, I hope. Yeah, I mean, if you've got any comments on anything that I've said or whatever, you know, please pop them down below. I do respond to all comments, or have done so far, and I intend to keep that up. Yeah, I hope it's been well, I don't know about particularly useful, but I hope it's been, you know, marginally helpful. And I shall see you again soon. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff if you want. It's totally up to you. This other, I don't know, to anybody who's still listening, which I'd imagine would be, you know, very few of you. But to anybody who's still listening, there's another YouTube channel who says, if I could ask, at the start of the video, he says, if I could ask you a favour, you know, could I borrow a like? I don't know whether that's cheesy or, because I quite like that, because I quite like that as a concept, but like, is it just me liking it, or has that got broader appeal? Like, I know that what I like isn't what everybody likes. Like, I know I'm weird. So, you know, because I think that's quite clever, and it feels unintrusive, but like, you know, I don't want to, you know, upset anyone by being weird, and it does feel a bit weird because you don't see anybody else doing it. So I don't know whether it's good weird or bad weird. So, you know, let me know. But yeah, if you've got to this point in the video and you're still watching and still haven't subscribed, I suggest you probably should. To be honest, but I think most people who get after about half an hour in are basically just subscribers. But yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody for watching, and yeah, I'll see you again soon. I did say I was going to do a video on something immediately after this, and then I forgot what it is. So, oh yeah, the announcement. So I'll do that now, and hopefully that will come soon. Anyway, toodaloo, bye bye.